Islanded me. Boards. Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, board games, I'm not gonna shout it. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And over there is someone that you may know. It is the person known as Théo. Théo has made more than 2 games. And these games, well, you'll hear their names. We'll talk a bit about this and that. We'll probably not talk about dogs and cats. I don't know why we would talk about such things. But having said that, I don't know if Théo has any pets, but still I sing. Do you have any pets? Wait a minute, why am I not hearing you? Something went wrong with my...
No, that's me, sorry. I just mute myself and forgot to unmute. Classic thing, sorry about that.
So do you have any pets?
Yeah, I do have a cat that might... At some
so
point,
we might talk about the cat. Well,
yeah, perfect.
And we'll talk about board games and Théo, it's what we're talking about. Board games and Théo, I'm not gonna shout. Hello, and good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. Hello, Alex. It's lovely to see you. I mean, yeah, I guess this is why some people put a countdown at the start of their stream, but I'm not professional enough for that. But, yeah. Anyway, it's lovely to see you as always. This is Busy Beats and Board Game Bledder. As I'm going to do for the next 85 days, I am streaming at 10 a.m. UK time. So today we are meeting Théo Rivière. We're going to chat about life. We're going to chat about board game design. We're going to chat about pretty much whatever comes up. We'll have a few tangents, I'm sure. And this is actually... I'm trying to think. This might be the first one of the... It's been the... No, actually, there have been a fair few people that have not really chatted to before. But I just reached out to you. I was like, hey, I'm aware of you, and it would be really cool to have you on the show. And then I reached out, and I was like, yeah, cool. And then... So I'm going to be meeting you and asking all these questions at the same time as the audience. So it'll be quite fun. We can get to know you together. But you are a designer. You're responsible for all sorts of things. You're, wait a minute, leaving in Belgium. Is that meant to be living in Belgium? I just realized. And you previously worked for IELLO and Repos. That must have been quite an adventure. Now they're both bought by Asmodee conglomerates, I believe.
IELLO not yet, but maybe at some point. But just Repos right now. IELLO is still like the outsiders fighter on this like board games. And in French, you know, we also have Hachette.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
like one of the
familiar.
biggest, like, yeah, of course, you know, which is like one of the biggest
book when it was like, hey, we are getting bought by Hachette. Please don't tell anyone else yet. But just because you're a designer, we want to assure you that what does this mean for you? Hey, nothing's really going to change. And that's pretty much what the email said, that they will have these new opportunities, but we will still get, of course, paid. I mean, of course we will. I mean, I can't imagine anyone's like, wait, you're getting bought by a bigger company? Does that mean that I'm not going to get paid? Does that mean I'm going to lose? But I mean, yeah, I don't think that's ever been the case. If anything, they're going to employ more people. But yeah, I've not had the pleasure of playing any of your games yet, I'm going to admit. But you've done names like Draftosaurus, which a lot of people know about, The Loop, which I believe isn't available in English just yet, or?
Yeah, not yet. Draftosaurus just acquires the right to do... Well, I think Catch Up released like something like 200 or 300 copies in English, just to tease people and to have the opportunity to send some boxes to you know, partners to acquire new partnership. And because if we of course, at some point we have to do an English version in order to show the game to other companies, the other publishers. But no, we can say like officially that Pandasaurus just acquires the right to do a proper English version and to release the game like in a more efficient way.
That sounds really exciting. And yeah, that's a solid company. And hello, Hal. It is lovely to see you. And yeah, as Alex says, I don't know, is this the way that the industry is going? That everyone is either bought by Hachette or by Asmodee? Is it like...
Right now, it's like that in France. And it's always like, oh, what's the next move in this like big game of buying someone else? And it's like, oh, maybe someone's gonna be buy like we haven't get ear of someone who have been bought for like 3 weeks now. It's like, okay, something is coming. Wait for it. Something is coming right now. Okay, who is the next one? But at some point, yeah, I think it's gonna be over because everyone would have been bought by someone else at some point.
Yeah, quite possibly. And hello, Bodhi. It is lovely to see you. Thanks for popping in. I sent you a Twitter message. And hello, Xate. It is lovely to see you as well. And Dina. I just realized that Dina is Dina Said So everywhere except for Twitch. I don't know if you can change your Twitch name. But anyway, and you've got this, talking of conglomerates, I mean, it's hardly a conglomerate, but you're working with Bauza, Ludovic Mablon, and Corentin Lebrat, who I'm not super familiar with, but you're working together as part of a team, as part of the Kadama, and that's something that I'd really like to get into a wee bit later on. But before we get onto the show, where yes, we're going to be talking about life and everything else, is there anything else you would like to say to get off your chest about yourself, to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm proud of?
That's a good and difficult question, actually. I think the main thing that, and that's funny because that's the second time that I'm doing a stream in English for like a small amount of time, because I was with Matthew Dunstan like I think last week. So the main thing is, please note that English is not my natural language. So obviously I'm French. You can hear by my beautiful accent that I'm quite comfortable speaking English, but still with my very French accent. And I think the main thing is thank you for having me. Like truly, I think it's a nice thing that I truly think, and sometimes I can get a little bit cheesy about this kind of stuff, but I truly think that board games community is a very nice community, and something is coming, and we are creating truly like these beautiful links with each other, and most of the time we are still like imprisoned by the fact that we don't speak the same language, and sometimes French people are always talking with French people, and it's not that easy to like having all these kind of links like being webbed all together. So thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to be there, because that's, yeah, I think at the end that's a very nice thing to talk with each other. So yeah, thank you.
No, thank you for accepting, and I think that genuinely this explosion of streaming is possibly one of the nice things that's... It's horrible to talk about silver linings because, yeah, not to... Okay, let me actually put up the sad stuff banner. Where, yeah, I'm going to talk about the pandemic for just a moment. It's like, obviously, there's been a lot of death. There's been a lot of, you know, people who've lost family members, who've lost those that are dear to them, who've lost children, and I feel slightly guilty calling it a silver lining in the broader sense of, you know, the tragedy that's been going on so many places. But for sure, from a personal point of view, this explosion and this greater connection with people that you might not see at a convention has been a really nice thing. And I've been chatting to Jess Hancock, who I've seen various times at conventions, but we never had more than 2 minutes to chat together. And yeah, for sure, being together here in this manner is really nice, having that almost obligation. Yeah, we're doing it for a crowd, but in a very real sense, we're also doing it for ourselves to, as you say, games are about people. So it's not just about the relationships around the table, it's also about the relationships of working relationships. Like I'll be chatting, I believe, tomorrow with Dina and Peter, and collaborations as you get designers working together, and yeah, designers and artists, like we were talking about Simon Crusoe before the show started, who has illustrated a game that I designed, Yogi and Yogi Guru, and I believe that Yogi Guru is the stronger of the two artistically, but please, if you play them, get the original first, because the sequel takes it to the maximum level of craziness. And for Théo, like I looked at the loop, and all the pictures that are on Simon's Instagram are just really nice, how diverse and what a strong style Simon has been able to cultivate.
Yeah, and that's great to have like a link between each other. We're talking about the fact that it was fun to talk with Simon, who told me, "Oh, you are doing something with Bez. That's great," and I love the fact that more and more people are also a connection, and it's like, I don't know how you feel about that, but when you sign and when you release a game with a company, it's like you're joining a family in a way, and at the end it's like, and convention, I'm missing convention a lot for this kind of stuff, but at the end it's like, oh, I'm gonna hanging at the catch-up booth, and now I'm seeing catch-up designers, and now we can be just all yeah. I'm trying to stay French and fancy at the same time.
Bonjour.
Bonjour à tous. And at the end, it's like we're connected by something, and so that's great to like, yeah, having this opportunity to be all linked by something and all joining like a crew in a way, and being like, oh, we have something in common. Let's at least talk about that. So I'm happy for this kind of things too.
And of course, today we're going to be talking about the childhood. We're going to be talking about how Théo got into games, how Théo became a designer. Hello, Emerishi, it's lovely to have you. And of course, Ian, who I didn't give a proper hello to. It is lovely to have everyone in the chat. And Alex has a really strange bit of news. I'm not sure what's going on here. Apparently, Z-Man are ending production of their classic Knizia Euros like Ra, Tigris and Euphrates and Samurai, blaming UK reviewers. Have you heard about this, Théo?
I've read the article. I didn't saw the blame UK reviewers part, but maybe I missed it because it was in English, and I must confess that I read it like very quickly. But yeah, they are saying that like this Knizia Heroes re-editing old games, but that are classics, is now over because it's not working as they think it will work. I think partly. They also released like illustration for Prince of Florence, saying, okay, we acquire the right for this game at some point, but no, we will not publish it, so we send it back the right to the designer. And so for sure, I think this collection is like over, which is like kind of sad. Perfect. Thank you, Alex, for the precision.
If you do attempt to re-release a game via traditional distribution channels, then you need to pray that any number of witty UK board game influencers take notice and give you coverage. Wow. Please feel free to share a link to that, and also for my personal selfish benefits, if you could, I don't know, is it on your Twitter page, or if not, send me a message privately. That doesn't sound like a good relationship. But as you said, hello, Robert. It is lovely to have you as always. But let's get to the main sections before we've been 15 minutes and we've not even started the main section. So I know exactly how this is going to go. It's going to go off the rails if we ever get onto the rails to start off with. But let's talk about recent highlights. Playing games and other delights, recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights. So, I have played a couple of quick solo games that do not have any names, and that is pretty much it. I ate some stuff. I went out. It was a beautiful day. Yesterday, actually, let me talk about everything I did yesterday. But so, if you weren't here, I drew a green cat. Where's my green cat? It's a green cat that's having some sort of magical brew, and then there was this quick cat, and then did a bit of work, went out for a chat with my old friend Joel Tangam, lovely person. Maybe I shouldn't have used their name, but hey, you know, there's a person named Joel Tangam that's somewhere in the universe, and they are a good friend of mine. So I don't think I'm giving too much private information via that. But yeah, we had a lovely phone conversation. It was good to catch up after so long, and then came back, played a bit of Among Us with some people. This is a. Have you played Among Us? The video game.
Yeah, truly enjoy it. It's funny because it's a video game and it's also kind of a board game at the same time. I mean, it could be a board game in a way, and I think I don't know the game designers, but they might have been influenced by a game like Mafia or Werewolves. And there is really something like board game-ish in a way when you're playing it. But I also love the fact that it's a social game at the end, and it's so fun to connect people with while playing board games or video games. So yeah, I played a couple of times, I think. I mean, a couple of nights, and we play several times each time because that's the kind of games that you cannot play just only once and being like, cool, it was a nice 5-minute game.
Like 10, 15 minutes, and if you're not playing it more than once, it's like, you know, you wouldn't play just one round of the crew, for example. Who's going to do that? Come on.
But yeah, truly like the game.
I think it's really interesting. It reminds me of Jackbox Party Pack, where it's taking a lot of the lessons that have been learned with modern board games. Yeah, I knew that would get a reaction. And then integrating them with the facilities of video games. And yeah, we were playing that every couple of weeks on Ross's server for More Games Please, but I think that was maybe a bit too frequent, so we're moving towards maybe once every month. We're going to play on a Tuesday night at 5 p.m. UK time. If you want to join, Théo, you would be most welcome. It's just a bunch of nice people playing together, and we've got a little doodle poll where if people want to say, hey, these are the nights that we can make, we're trying to work out the next date, which will be in April sometime. But yeah, that was a good game. And then I also played a game with Tom, Robin, oh shoot, I'm going to forget someone now. James, McCall, and who am I missing? Oh dear. There were 6 of us. I do really apologize to whoever I'm missing. Jess Mederingham from Descent Games. And then the 6 of us were playing a game. It's basically 2 truths and a lie, but simplified. I kind of designed this parlor game, let's call it. You tell a story. Everyone else can ask a question. They pick, is it a truth or a lie? You get 1 point if you fool half the people. Everyone else gets a point if they guess correctly. That's it. And so it's a nice kind of getting to know you social thing. And for streaming, if you want to be more of a social event, but you want a bit of a game-like activity to it, that's nice and that works well. But that was everything that was most of my recent highlights yesterday. What have been some of your recent highlights? And also anyone in chat, let us know what some of your recent highlights were. But Théo, what have you played recently? What's been the last couple of games that you've enjoyed?
I think you can actually saw them because I think the last game that I played was Pandemic Legacy Season 0. So I play with my girlfriends and 2 friends of us. And it's like one of like we play each Monday afternoon for like this past 3 months, and I love the fact that we have like this small rendezvous each week, and it's like I know that it is gonna be air, and I go that no matter the amount of work that I have to do, it will not move. So it's great to have something like that, and I truly enjoy this season. I like Pandemic Legacy a lot. I like season 1. Okay, I find season 2 very nice, and I find season 0 like great because they implement more story into it. I think I'm more. It's more story driven, so I'm more like.
So you're saying for you, it's like season 1, season 2, season 0.
Yeah, truly. And because I think the main thing is it's more and more narrative. So season 1 was like, okay, I playing Pandemic with some variation, and it's telling me a story, but I don't want to say that the story doesn't make sense, but it was like, yeah, it's a story, but it's like the old show at the end of the first episode. You're playing episode 2, and that's a new thing. Season 2 was a little bit better at this matter, but it was still like, oh, okay, no, I have to take care of the story that I am reading because it might affect the way that we need to play. And season 0, it's like, okay, no, I don't know. Is this part of this story just for the story, or is it part of the gameplay? Do we have to take like note of this thing because it might be important at that point, or is it just some fluff?
So there's actually a bit of whodunit, a bit of clues that you need to follow, and a bit of ruling. That sounds really good. I started playing season 2, so we didn't actually put down any stickers after the prologue. So I think we had a bunch of people. We were like, okay, we want to play this, and then we started after the real pandemic, and I think maybe we started in March, and a couple of people might have been slightly uncomfortable with it. Well, one person might have been slightly uncomfortable with it, and a couple of people one person was a bit unreliable, and so we decided, okay, you know what, let's just put it on hold, and maybe we'll come back to it, even if it's in a year's time. Because, a good game, you don't need to rush to play it at the same time as everyone else. I mean, I know, especially with spoilers, there's a sense of, like a TV show, you want to see it at the same time, but it's still going to be good even in 5 years' time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, truly. And that's something that sometimes bother me, because people are like, oh, I just discovered this old game and I'm playing it, and it's great. And I'm like, this game is like 6 months old. It's not old yet. Come on, let's try to. I really like the fact that right now the industry is like boiling, and we have a lot of board games coming out, and a lot of them are great. And it's great to be like excited about it, and be like, oh, I want to buy all these board games. I want to play test everything because everything seems nice. But it's also good to keep in mind that some of the old board games are still like good games, and it's still possible to play them and to enjoy them. So I'm trying sometimes to be like more on the second-hand market, and to buy like older games, and being like, oh, I heard that this game is not a classic, because of course everyone are still playing like classic board games that are old but still on the market and still easy to find on the shelf. But sometimes I'm like, oh, someone told me that this game was great back in 2005. Okay, let's try to buy it and to play it to see if it's still great. Sometimes they are like getting old, sometimes not. But yeah, trying to be on both sides of the scale. Still excited about like new board games, but still trying to play like not the old stuff, but the older stuff.
I mean, something where, talking about the older stuff, I mean, when we were earlier talking about the re-releasing of Ra and all of that, which to my mind is still very relevant today. I mean, Ra is definitely a really nice thing. Thank you for the link, Alex. I'm going to just try and catch up with the chat. Dina says, that's why you need to have good communication and marketing relationships. You can't just be salty and say, oh, well, it's all your fault, because that does sound like sour grapes. Indeed, I mean, for goodness sake, shut up and sit down, major channel and are liking all those things. But talking about recent highlights, Dina celebrated the kid's birthday yesterday, and the Kickstarter ended on Monday. 912 backers. That's really cool. So, and now Dina has a 4-year-old. So congratulations. And Ian got the vaccine yesterday. That is awesome. So yeah, good on you. Dina played Yogi in the bathtub. You know what? That was a highlight for me to see, because I want to see more photos of people playing Yogi in a wet environment. Because I have had the privilege of playing, I believe I was the first person, because I did it with a prototype copy, which had slightly different artwork on the back, but let's not get into that. But I don't think anyone from the Gigamic company played it in the hot tub or the swimming pool, as far as I know. But anyway, I got this prototype. And wait a minute, these cards, are they waterproof? And so, of course, I had to take the first opportunity that I could. But I understand you don't get that many opportunities, but I'd love to see more photos of this. Alex had an excellent playtest session with Rob. Is this Raw? I don't know which Rob. I'm not going to guess. The changes we made really brought the game to life, and we might be a few weeks away from opening up to more players. Awesome. Great Western Trail. I've heard good things. I've not personally played it yet. And also Nautilus Industries, which I do not know about. Do you know either of these games, Théo?
Yeah, I play Great Western Trail, which is a very good game, even it's a little bit too long for my taste. It's like this kind of game. I'm more on the like family, casual spectre of what I like, even if I like more heavy game. But I think my game of Great Western Trail went for like 3 hours and a half. And at the end, I'm like, okay, if it was 2 hours and a half, I truly enjoy it. Right now, it was a little bit too much for me. But because it was our first game, I think, to be fair, I think second games would have been like way shorter. But that's the kind of design that's always amazed me, because there are so many little things, so many little stuff, but everything like is very harmonized in a way. And so yeah, truly enjoy it. I don't know Nautilus Industries, so I was like secretly Googling it at the same time. But yeah,
that is fair. And Ian says, you do not want to see me playing Yogi in the bath. I mean, I'm not going to cast any comments upon your physical appearance. You know what? If you were actually playing it, and it would be good to know that you had. Alex says, I would be worried about slipping over in the bath. I can sort of get that. If you are a fully grown adult, maybe playing it in a swimming pool, by the poolside. Play it by the side of the swimming pool. Give it a go. Try to not drown. I accept no responsibility if you actually drown. You know, you can always stop playing. Please don't feel like you're so committed to the game that you have to keep playing even if your head is underwater and you're struggling to breathe. Just stop and stand up and do it. And hello, Shoda. It is lovely to see you.
Hey.
Maybe.
Bez, how often did you get like pictures or photo from people playing Yogi? Because that's the kind of games, and every time I play it, I think I take a picture at some point, because you're like,
it that often, like maybe 3 times a year or something like that. And
okay, let me send you one. At
oh,
I will have to find it back. It's somewhere on my phone.
Send me pictures. And Dina has a playtest on Friday of the zombie game. Ian playtested Alpha Formation. I'm not familiar with that one. And Xate, of course, loves the crew, has played it 2, 3, 4 players, and finally played 5 players on Loozapalooza while streaming. And Xate prefers 4 players and 3 players and 2 players to 5. So is that really because 5 players is so bad, or is it just because you are partially because you are playing it in that environment? So I get what Xate is saying here. You want to get that task, you want them to be shared equally, so maybe 4. It seems like 4 is really the sweet spot. Have you played much of the crew? Have you played it at all?
Yeah, not each different mission, because every time I play it, I introduce it to new players around the table. And every time I'm like, oh, we need to start with mission 1, so you will enjoy like the fact that it's going crescendo. So I think I play mission 1 like 8 times now. but yeah, truly enjoy it. And yeah, it was fun to see the game like growing and growing, because I quite remember being at SN 2029, so yeah, 2019, and people were like, I perfectly remember someone from Proxy Jeux, which is a French podcast about board games, saying, "Oh, we just bought this game because it looks fun, but we don't know a lot about it. But it's a co-op trick-taking games." And people are like, "Yeah, sure, we have to take a look." But and Cosmos was like sold out for the English copy. No, was sold out. And so we are like, okay, we need to play this game, but we cannot like get it yet. And people from Proxy was like, oh, we think it's good. It might be really good. Maybe it's the game that we enjoy the most for all this fair. And it was starting to be like, okay, we need to play this game. I want to play this game. And we start a small quest to find and to get a box and to finally play it. So yeah, I like the game, and it also brings me nice memories. So yeah, double like the game because of that.
That sounds lovely. And so, yeah, Ian, if you've not played it, well, I know at least one person in the chat who is basically up for playing it literally anytime. So, yeah, that is the crew, and yep. So, yep, it is Xates, of course. Let us move on to the questionably quick questions. Where exactly are you, in as much or as little detail as you're willing to share, and what time is it? I am in Glasgow on a third-story floor, and I'm looking out at a grey sky in the Scottish skies in UK, in Europe, on Earth, and it is 10:32. How about you, Théo?
I'm also on Earth, also in Europe. I'm currently on my desk. Behind my desk, on my flat, which is in Brussels, Belgium. The sky is also pretty gray. We don't have like very good weather in Belgium. That we are famous for that. And I'm 1 hour on the future, so it's 11 and a half. Where I am.
Same as Yoda, who is in Lelystad, I believe. If I'm saying that correctly. The Netherlands or Yoda, I should say. But let me... So I see My City behind you. Have you finished it?
Which one, sorry? My City, yeah. Yeah, I finished it, I think, like 2 weeks ago. And I truly enjoy it. And it was fun because it's the exact opposite as Pandemic Legacy, because there is no narrative point of view by any means. It's very, very, very cold. And at the beginning, I was like, yeah, sure, I like the game, but I am willing to play 24 games of it if it's not telling me a story. And yes, definitely yes, because the game was truly, truly fun. And he has like this genius way of being like addictive in a way, because it was like, oh, we just finished a game. Do you want to play it again? Yeah, sure. Quick setup. Let's replay it. And so I played 2 players with my girlfriends. I think we play something like 3 games each day for like 2 weeks, and it was like, yeah, truly enjoyable. Have you played it yet?
Yes, I have. I did a long review of it last Sunday, where I've played it 24 times plus. I played the 3 games with family because they needed maybe an introduction or a catch-up. So some of the games we didn't actually make any marks on the board. And also afterwards, we played 5 games with the Eternal version. For me, I feel like the Eternal version felt slightly sad. I wanted to have some... I ideally would have liked the Eternal game to be almost like episode 25. That's how I would have liked it to feel, but I know one of my siblings said that the Eternal version felt like a stripped down version, like it was cut back, like you had lost something now.
It makes sense, and I'm glad that you give me feedbacks about the Eternal version, because it's always, in my point of view, I was like, I want to play this game because it's a legacy and because he had evolution. Otherwise, if I play like the first game, I think it would have been the kind of games that will not fit my taste. So I will be like, yeah, sure, it's a clever, a little bit cold, mechanical game, but kind of like it, but I will not sure that I'm gonna play it again. Just like, I don't know if you're familiar with Scarabia, published by Blue Orange by Bruno Catala and Ludovic Maublanc, which is also a polyomino with duplicate cards when you put something on your own board. And I like the game, but it doesn't have like this feeling of, oh, I want to play it again and again and again. And truly, the legacy evolution aspect was something that made me play My City a lot. So at the end, I was like, yeah, sure. Do I want to play the Eternal version? Yeah, not sure. If the goal is not to unlock something else, I'm not sure I want to play it. So I'm glad that you are giving me feedbacks going a little bit on this side. So
it's interesting because it kind of taps into the whole sense of how people like to learn games. Because here with my family, especially my parents, who I've been living with for the past 2 months, January, February, March, 3 months, let's say. And then normally when I'm in London, if I'm playing with other people, maybe we can play 4 new games every week. I might meet Chris and McCall, and then we play like 3 or 4 games that none of us have ever played, because ages ago at the last UK Games Expo I went to, I got a box where I got maybe 50 games for £100 because it was just a job lot. It was kind of ridiculous. And it's not that they're all bad games. I'm not going to say any of them are brilliant, but some of them are like, okay, I'll never play that again. Some of them are, you know what, that was actually really interesting. And it's kind of embarrassing my pile of potential that I have. But here, at the end of the campaign, it was, for my parents especially, it was, okay, now we've fallen in love with the game. Now we are familiar. Now we want to keep playing it forever. And so for my parents, it's, okay, we have now done the difficult work. Now the fun work is playing this thing familiar to us. Everyone wants different things.
It also makes sense. But I think I will, and that's the first time for me about a legacy game. In other, I think I will be willing to like play it again from the beginning, and being like, I think I can play the campaign a second time with the exact same amount of pleasure for my taste, because it will be like, yeah, sure, no, I don't have that much surprises, but the game was not a lot of surprising when you open the different envelope. It's not like, whoa, something huge is happening. It's always like, yeah, sure, it's clever. Let's play it. And yeah, I think I could play it a second time at some point, which is not familiar for me about legacy games.
I mean, you have basically all the main bits in there because you only played it 2 players. You've got the board, you've got, I think there's like 1 sticker short or something, so you might have to draw 1 rocker, but it's all good. Anyway, I realized that I haven't yet put in the links for Théo, so if you have not already checked out who this amazing person is, then check out Théo on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. And we have a whole bunch of questions for you. So let's get to them. Firstly, what is the smell of your favorite sound?
Wow. That's because I first need to know what's my favorite sounds. What?
I mean, yeah, I know where this is coming from. This is a... Yeah,
but I think the first thing that comes to my mind is food, in a way, because I love food in a lot of different ways. So I think one of my favorite sounds might be like something sizzling on a hot pans. And at the end, very probably the smell will be garlic, because I also love garlic. So yeah, I think the smell of my favorite sound might be garlic in a way.
What is your favorite walk? I mean, do you have a daily walk? Do you go on walks often?
I used to, but because of the pandemic, I'm not like going out that much, because it's always like a little bit more complicated to like get dressed, having my mask on, and just going for somewhere. But I'm also like a big comic readers. Like I read a lot of comics, manga, and like French comics. And so I have my typical like wall going on 3 different second-hand bookshop. And it's like, okay, I'm not feeling that good, or maybe I need to find new inspiration, or maybe I just want to have a walk. So I go out and go to the first bookshop. Very often not buying anything, but just like also loving the smell of old books. So going on this place, going on another one, going back for my place and going to 2 other ones actually. So that's 4 of them prior to going back to my office. So yeah, I think it might be this one. If you're Downtown Brussels, just ask me. I would give you like the good address if you want.
And quick hello to Recursive Rhetoric, who says, I love Sea of Clouds.
Oh, thank you.
And
yeah, there are my face on a wanted poster on Sea of Clouds. Miguel Coimbra, the artist, give me like the nice surprise to choose my face to illustrate a wanted poster on the game. So yeah, it was great. And thank you, John.
Yeah, and John, let me know if he wants any of the books. So my previous self, so Bez from some time ago said that games are brilliant because of one, we can communicate ideas, maybe as designers, we can teach things. Secondly, we bring people together. That's meant to be old friends, new friends. Although I mistyped that, I just noticed. Certainty in a baffling world. Sometimes you just want to be like, okay, these are the rules, and it makes you feel more comfortable. Sometimes it's about learning or exercising our mind. Sometimes it's about the joy of, flicking things. And then the whole notion of, even what is fun, but what else makes a board game brilliant? And Yoda mentioning having a meeting, applying the knowledge of board games to be able to apply for something else, like actually learning and then putting it into some other situation. And Ian saying board games help me develop coping strategies, which is really interesting. But do you have anything else to say about why you think that board games are brilliant?
I think truly the one thing that you were saying is like, and I don't know if it makes sense in English, so stop me if it's not. But I like the fact that when you are playing board games, it creates like this board game bubble, and you're like into it, and for the amount of time that you choose to put into it, almost nothing else matters, and you're like deeply into the game. And because of that, I'm trying to more and more not having my cell phone, and trying all the players around the table not having like cell phone or different distraction, and truly like trying to stay on this very typical state of mind when the time is passing very, very fast and you're just enjoying a moment. And for this, almost short amount of time, you're just into this thing, and you forget about almost everything else. Of course, sometimes your mindset is not perfect for this kind of thing, but yeah, truly trying to create like this small and comfortable bubble of time when you're just enjoying a moment. And it's truly something that is in my mind, and that I love about board games, because you're like, just enjoying this moment and not having any purpose beside enjoying the moment. And I think at the end it's beautiful.
That's actually a really nice way to put it. So kind of having a bit of peace, almost meditation. And you could say like an escapism from everything else going on. Some people saying, old books smell so nice. Walking randomly around Brussels after missing the last train to the UK. And
so now you know that next time, just send me a DM on Twitter, and Alex, we can share a coffee or a beer. If at some point we can go to a pub or to a cafe, but at some point we sure will.
And apparently Recursive Rhetoric only bought your game because it has a fun name and nice artwork. But then, because of the mechanics, it became a favorite. So there you go.
Oh, thank you.
And it's important to impress upon children that a board game is a safe place to fail. Yes, 100%. Ralph Coster, it's a safe environment for learning. It's a safe environment for failing. Yeah, 100%. And
yeah, truly.
we'll just give it a little bit of a jiggle. And thank you, Sweden official. I assume this is not the official government of Sweden, but just someone who has
Maybe.
chosen this username. For all I know, maybe this is now the government of... I am followed by the government of Sweden. But I don't know what the Yeti is. Do you understand this question?
Are you liking the Yeti? Oh, maybe it's because of unmatched. And the next, this box is Robin Hood against Bigfoot. So maybe it makes sense because of Bigfoot is a Yeti in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
But are you enjoying that? Have you played with Bigfoot?
Yeah,
Oh, the
and
microphone. Dina says the microphone.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. It was truly a big change for me because I'm recording a podcast in French. Unfortunately, sorry about that. About designing board games and giving tips to people who want to start to design games. And so I start with my bad old microphone doing it. And at some point I was like, okay, I'm comfortable enough with this project to buy something a little bit better. So I buy this beautiful microphone. And now that I'm streaming more and more, I'm like, okay, it was a good investment. It was just not me being like, oh, I need to buy something because I want to buy something. No, I'm like, yeah, I bought it for good reason. So yeah, truly enjoy it.
And from John, there's a shout out to Draftosaurus, and Xates is excited by the Dino Meeples. More, agreements that it's all about safe space for failure, because it's not about letting someone win. It's about saying, yeah, it's okay that you didn't win. You fail, and you need to learn how to fail. Yoda will discuss with their son why whoever lost, and just be about learning and practicing the mind. That sounds, yep, 100%. I will agree with this. Have you played with small children? Do you ever let a child win? Never.
Never. Sometimes I can be like indulgent, not like targeting. If I'm playing, I don't have any children, but my sister have three. I have three nephew and nieces, and I when I visit her, I love to play with all four of them, but I will never let them win. But sometimes I will be like, oh, maybe I'm not gonna target you with this bad card or this bad action, even if the main strategic thing will be to do it, because I don't want to be like always like bashing the leader. So sometimes I'm a little bit nicer that I will be against grown up.
So you'll win, but maybe not by as many points as you could have.
Yeah, sometimes. But at the end, I perfectly agree with it's important not to give them the win. Otherwise, it's like, I think it's worse for them to like having this epiphany or, oh, I won. Maybe I won because you let me win. And I think this feeling is like truly, truly bad for anyone. Because even if they are small children, I think they can feel like being patronized in a way. So I'm more into, I'm trying to beat you. Maybe you're gonna beat me. But at the end, if I'm the winner, I'm gonna be the winner. And I also intend to play the kind of board games with children where children can beat me. Like, of course, if at some point I'm like, oh, let's play, I don't know, Res Arcana with my 8-year-old niece, I'm gonna beat her for sure. But if we play something like Pit Plume, I don't know the word in English, the name of the game in English, which is like a memory game, most of the time she will win because she's better than me at memory things. So I'm trying to find the good board games to play, not let her winning, but having her the opportunity to win anyway.
And Xate talks about even when you're an adult, some people are just still bad losers. So you may be. It's. I mean, I don't think it's just relegated to. Of course, there are some guys who might be quite sexist and are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I got beaten by a girl." But I think, regardless of gender, you can be a bad loser. You can be a good loser, of course, but anyone can be a bad loser. And sometimes it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm just not going to play games where I can be too mean to you. Roberts has a thing of, yeah, sometimes you let someone win. Sometimes you make sure that they don't win because it's about teaching them and building them up later on. But I like what you said about, no, if one person can always win, if it's a game where, let's say I was to play a game with my nieces of who is able to do an arithmetic add up to 3-digit numbers quickly, let's pretend. I mean, that's not an interesting game, but if that were the game we were playing, I would always win. Now, if I'm going to play... let me actually give a more real-life example now. I'm thinking about it. With the L deck, I used to play a game with my nieces where they might be trying to spell the word cat, C-A-T, and I might be trying to spell the word panther, which is, a bit longer. It takes me a bit more time. And, okay, well, you've beaten me 3 times spelling cat. Now you need to spell the word lion. And it's a bit more difficult. So it's like a speed game. And then I would almost say, yeah, put the handicaps, make them obvious so they understand where they are. It's okay if I'm playing tennis against someone who plays tennis well. Frankly, I'm not even good enough to play competitive tennis. I would prefer just to try and get to rally. That for me would be more interesting. But let's say we're playing, I'm trying to think of an example, snooker. Okay, if I'm playing snooker against someone who's substantially better than me, if they say, okay, you know what, you take 2 shots to every time I take 1, or if you miss with your first shot, you get a bonus shot, something like that. I know I've got that handicap, but then suddenly it's an exciting game. And there's a really, really nice article by Richard Garfield about handicaps in tennis, which I encourage everyone to read.
But... yeah, and I think the main thing is, at the end, it's most enjoyable for everyone. Because it's like, I used to play Magic a lot, Magic the Gathering. And even if I'm not, like, truly good with it, I'm, like, better than most of the players who don't play it that much. And at the end, playing against someone who just discovers the game against me, which is not like a veteran but knows the rules pretty well, it's not enjoyable for them because they're gonna lose for sure, and it's not enjoyable for me because I'm gonna win almost for sure. But if I'm playing with an handicap, they know that they can win, and I know that I can lose. So no, the game is enjoyable for both of us. So yeah, I truly think that's a good way of like playing with like different level of like knowing the game.
Or if you change the rules. I mean, I remember when I was playing table tennis, ping pong with my friend, and they are so much better than me. I would not have stood a chance in a real match. And so instead, what we did is we said, okay, we're going to have a rally and we're going to see if we can get to 100. And then we played, and then I was messing up a lot more often. But they had to actually make it very easy for me, which in itself is a sort of skill to try and make sure, okay, even if Bez hits the ball badly so I can barely hit it, now I've got to hit it so that it is easy for Bez to hit. That was challenging for them, maybe at least once or twice, maybe 5% of the time it was them messing up harder than me. But, with this cooperative game, we've got some sense of achievement together. And yeah, it's for sure. I agree with Xate. You need to teach people how to lose. Ian says, grandson refused to concede despite Ian trying to teach him that being the honourable thing. I don't know. What do you think about concession in games? Because there was a lot of discussion about this on Big Cock, where someone's saying, "Hey, if I know that I've lost in a 2-player game, should I concede or should we play to the bitter end? What would you prefer?" And a lot of people say, "Hey, I want to enjoy my victory," and you're taking away. But yeah, what do you think?
I think on the side of at the end, but that mostly because chess and Magic are not like the best example, because they are games, but they are also like competitive game in a sort of like sport way, and that's not the same thing, I think, because when I play like tournament of Magic, at the end, all in my mind what was important was winning and going to a game and trying to win every time, and losing was a failure in a way. But when I'm enjoying board games, losing is not a failure. It's just a statement at the end of the game. I haven't won this game, but I enjoy it. And it brings back to like this bubble of just enjoyment. So I'm perfectly okay for losing game. Of course, I'm always trying to win, because that's also like part of the contract when you are playing with another player. But at the end, yeah, losing is okay. So I will often go for, okay, I think I will not win this game. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna win, but I will go all along because I don't really care about winning. So I can concede with when I playing chess or Magic the Gathering. I will never do it playing board games, because that's not the same feeling for me at the end.
I mean, Dina says, yeah, chess or Go, you concede. I mean, Go, it's kind of part of the very nature of Go is, okay, it finishes when both players have passed. And interestingly, for Magic the Gathering, that's one where I probably wouldn't concede, because maybe I think, okay, there's actually nothing in my deck that can save me, but if you concede, you're kind of telling them something about what's in your deck. Do you know what I mean? So you're telling them that there's nothing. If this is game 1 out of 3, by conceding, you're telling them that there's nothing in your deck that can save you. And by the time that I know that I'm going to lose, maybe I'm just not a good enough player, but by the time that I know I'm going to lose, well, it's going to take maybe 2 minutes to actually play it out. So I will probably just play it out, and I'll say, oh, and even if I know that there's nothing good that I could have drawn, I'll pretend to be disappointed. So they think, oh, what's this big card that might turn up in the next game? Especially at a pre-release, which is the way that I normally play. But yeah, if it's a multiplayer game, for sure, there's these things. But yeah, I mean, photosynthesis. If you were playing photosynthesis 2-player, do you know? Have you played it?
Yeah.
Would you, if you were in a situation where you felt, okay, this is actually unwinnable, would you say, hey, can we just restart the game, or would you?
I don't think so, because if the moment is still enjoyable for both players, I mean, of course, if something happens and the game is screwed by a way, and it's like, okay, it's not enjoyable for me, it's not enjoyable for you, maybe we can stop. Yeah, sure, let's stop it. But I don't want to be like this kind of loser who, in a way, still likes the joy of victory to the other players, to the other player in case of a 2-players games. And at the end, it's like, and Magic in this part is a good example. It's like you are playing a combo deck, and you're finally untable everything, and you're gonna go, oh, I do that, to do that, to do that, to do that, untap, do it again, blah blah blah. And I want to enjoy this part of my deck, because it's like the amount of stuff that I put it was to enjoy this moment. And if the other player is like, yeah, whatever, you just win. Let's clean up. It's okay. They are like, in a way, breaking my moment. So I will never try to break the moment of other players. So yeah, I think I will go along for this kind of game.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is more expansive. It's not about you, Ian. It's not about this game of chess. It's like just generally trying to have the broader discussion. And I think
Sorry, I'm out of you.
No, go on.
I think you had a solid point about chess and Go, which is like concession is part of the game, and it's like even if it's not on the rules, it's part of like the way you are playing it. Yeah, and yeah, conceding in chess is a thing. Yeah, truly. So if like you're playing a board game and like you have a rule who say at any point a player can concede and blah blah blah, it's a matter of something. Yeah, it's okay. It's part of if it's part of the game, it's different than like just like quitting because you're not winning on a game when it's not like think about it.
Now, I don't want to talk about this for another half hour. It is a really interesting discussion, but, I almost feel like this is a kind of discussion that I would love to have maybe 4 people and like just everyone expressing their own ideas, not just via chat, but also on video and able to interrupt people more easily. But what I would like to say is that I love Go. For anyone who doesn't know, this is what I often call my #1 game of all time. And part of that is the culture around it, that it's always a fair match. If I am better than you, hey, you start with some extra stones. If you are better than me, I start with some extra stones. Now, I want to say that when the game is over, which is when people pass, the point is you pass if you think there's nothing that you can do to improve your chances of winning. If you know that you have lost and you don't pass, then okay, that's not a great thing. If you know for sure that you've lost, you should concede in Go. And I think let's apply that to chess. Now, the thing is, when you don't know that you have definitely lost, that's the thing. If you don't know that you have definitely lost, then let the other person play it out. Let them see how they would have lost. And then next time when they get into the same situation, then they learn about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, truly. It's also a matter of like, it might be trivial at the end, but I remember playing not Magic, another card game on a shop for the first time. It was like, hey, discover this game event, and so I played it, and it was great. I was playing it, and we all discovered the game, but one guy who already know how to play. And I eventually, because I was lucky, mostly I think, end up on like this small finale of the tournament against him, and we are playing, and was like, okay, I'm doing that, and on my turn thinking, and he was like, oh, you won, congrats, I cannot beat you. I was like, did I? Okay, I wasn't aware of that, and it was a good feeling in a way because I won, so it was great to win a small tournament. But it was also a mixed feeling because I was like, oh, I haven't truly win this game. I think you've lost. I haven't won, which is not the same feeling and the same
because you
consideration.
didn't quite understand how you had won.
Yeah. And so I think it would be, and I agree with you, chess, it's better to be like, okay, I concede because I know that I have lost, is pretty different about the fact that your opponent saying you must concede because you've lost. If it's not, and I think it was on Tongalat, the position was, I'm teaching you how to play chess, which is perfectly different because in this case, oh, look, you've lost. Let me tell you why. But yeah, I think it's different.
The easiest way to explain why someone's lost is to kind of, play it out. And that's a nice thing about Go, that you can always play it out. And yeah, Ian, if you're terrible at it, then that's fine. I mean, I don't know how it is on Board Game Arena. Maybe someone can tell us. But on Board Game Arena, can you put on the handicap stones? You should be able to. If they can't, then that's not great.
I think so.
And yeah, let's arrange it maybe in a few weeks' time. And yeah, let's do it. And lots of love, Dina. Enjoy your day ahead. But let me get to the rapid fire, questionably quick questions. So, meatballs or plastic figurines?
Whoa, meeples.
Okay. Books or podcasts?
Books.
Okay. Small box or big box?
Both.
You're in a universe where you have to send one to the incinerator to room 101.
Small box.
Okay. And what is the last book that you read?
That's hard because I don't know the title in English. That's a novel
Tell
called
us the French.
La Bibliothèque de Montchar. Let me Google it because I can.
Library of Montchar.
Come on.
And
it's great. That's a fantasy, not fantasy in the meaning of like with elves and stuff like that, but it means like if it's not like in a real world. And I love the fact that I've not finished it yet, but that's the kind of books that a lot of things are like unusual, and you don't get to understand everything from the beginning. But the author never explained anything beside like my average model stuff. It's not like I don't like when I'm reading something and at some point it's like, stop, let's have a talk about the universe and let us talk and tell you how everything is working. Right now it's like, okay, I'm perfectly lost. Okay, I'm a little bit lost. Okay, I'm confused. Okay, no, I know. And I love this feeling. Let me try
like
to
that
find
sense of you are discovering it yourself, that there's more ownership of the information that way, I guess.
Come on. Yeah, we can go, and I'm gonna try to find it at the same time.
Now, the final regular section which I like to talk about is a brilliant thing. Brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? Brilliant thing! Théo, do you have a brilliant thing to share with us? What's one of your favorite games, for example? Or you can say anything. Talk about tables.
Anything that I found brilliant recently, or do we have
anything? You can talk about the Big Bang. I mean, that's pretty brilliant. It brought us all into being. Depending on if you agree with the Big Bang theory.
What is the thing that I found brilliant lately?
Spectacles. I mean, I assume you need them to see. Beards. You can stroke it while you're thinking.
It's funny because the first thing that come in my mind is like pole dancing, and I don't truly know why. But Elodie, my girlfriend, is like truly into pole dancing for the past 2 years, and now we have like a pole bar at our apartment, and I'm trying to like learn a little bit with her. She told me some moves, so I'm trying to understand it, and it's truly something that brings me joy, because in a way it's a sport, and I'm not that much into doing sport. It's not something that I was raised with, and I'm not like a very sporty person, so that's a good way for me to do some sport, because I'm still trying to get healthy, and to enjoy it. It's also something that I enjoy because it brings me a lot of joy to Elodie, so I'm obviously happy for her. And it's truly another community that I discover, and she's doing it with like, not these days, but most of the time with a small crew of people on a school in Brussels. And it's very like a very inclusive and very great crew of people, like willing to trying to accept everyone and doing good stuff about like being all together and doing things. And it's definitely something that I discover like not recently but almost recently, and that bring me this like great feeling of, oh, I think I discover something which is great. So yeah, definitely.
I am so amused and marginally excited and happy that you brought this up, and I want to know, is it an X-pole, what radius, and is it brass or chrome?
Oh, sorry, I didn't get that.
So the pole that you have in the apartment, what's the radius? Is it X-pole, and is it brass or chrome? And it's okay if you don't know the answers to these questions.
I think it's chrome. Right now it's like in the middle of our living room, so we have to move a lot of furniture to have like the proper amount of space to do stuff with it. And if it was like different parts that we assemble together, and it go from the floor to the ceiling, and it's like fixed because of that.
I mean, yeah, well, it's interesting, the more technical details, like the radius of the pole, because, you know, some people are all about the 35, some people are all about the 45, depending on what people... I mean, I haven't done it for quite a bit of time, I'm going to admit, but I fell in love with pole dancing a few years ago. I don't know if you're aware of this.
No, not at all.
About 10, maybe 12 years ago, I went to a pole dance class with a friend in Glasgow, and apparently Ian met me for the first time, asked what do I do, and I replied pole dance. And there you go. Yes, one
that's
of my
perfect.
favorite things. So in London, I went to so many schools. I have a one pole that should be fixed, one pole that's external, and it's a stage pole where it's... Anyway, I've sadly not done it quite well, but it's really exciting to know I'm not the only board game designer who is a pole dancer. So there's at least 2 of us. So if we get, I mean, frankly, we could have, if we get a few more, we could have like a pole dancing show with board game designers, board game themed pole dancing. I don't know.
Perfect.
Like,
and that's something that now that I have talked about pole dancing in my stream, I think, this week actually, and people are like, "Oh, we want to see you doing some stuff," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay. I have taken some moments with Elodie. She showed me something. I'm like not perfectly successful at a lot of stuff, of a lot of things, but I can do some tricks. But now that people are like, we want to see you, I'm like, okay, no, I have to be more like consistent to train at least once a week and to get better at it, to at least do something that I will be proud doing, like and sending a picture on the internet. No, I'm like willing to progress and to be better at pole dancing. So yeah, definitely I'm in for a show in, let's say, SN 2022.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like we'll need to work out the logistics of where the stage is and everything. But I don't know if this is a typo or if you actually meant pool dancing. But
Pool dancing.
Either way, sure, let's get everyone together. And let me say to everyone, feel free to continue asking questions, doing the whole like follow stuff, all of that stuff. And yeah, let's just start. It's a typo, so it was actually pole dancing. And Ian danced with a Polish lassie once. So pole dancing. Yep. That's okay. Yeah, someone awards Tonga Lad 100 points for that pun. I am okay. So, Théo, what's your first memory? Let's start there.
It's always funny because I don't know if I remember stuff, or if I remember because people have told me memories and that I like bring stuff to my mind. But I think one of the main thing will be maybe dogs actually, because I grew up like on a countryside in France, with like a very very isolated house with my sister and my parents, and we always have a dog around. And I perfectly remember my first dog, Uba, which was like a husky in a way, not like a proper husky, but we don't care about that. And I think I remember like going into the forest and walking with my parents, my sister, and this typical dog.
So, do you said you have a cat? You still love pets?
Yeah, sure. And I wish no, I'm living on an apartment, and Brussels is a big city, so for sure having a dog will not be something I will be comfortable about, because if I got a pet, I don't want my pet to feel uncomfortable and not having like a good life. So having a cat was like a way for me and already to have like a pet, because we love animals, but not like having a pet who will be sad about his life. So now we have a cat, and suddenly I'm like both a cat and a dog person in a way, which is okay for me.
And so what I'm hearing is that you just like animals in your environment. You want to have animal companions.
Yeah.
Are you also someone who loves nature and enjoys having... I mean, which do you think you are more like, cats or a dog? Are you like very effusive and sharing all your love at the first opportunity, or are you a bit more standoffish like a cat?
I think I'm more a dog in this point of view, because I can get like excited pretty quickly. I'm always like I'm trusting people a lot, and for most of my life, I was like, people were like, "Oh, don't you have to be careful, because don't give your trust so easily, because at some point you're gonna have like bad experiences about it." And I get bad experiences about it, but I'm still like comfortable giving my trust to people, because I'm like, everything that I lose was this much, and everything that I won was that much, so perfectly okay with it. So I think I'm more a dog, because I'm truly like a social person at the end. I love to go to camp to can not to can to game fair and to game shows, to meet some people. I like to go on stream and to talk with people, because it's like connecting me to them. So yeah, definitely a dog for this point of view.
So, yeah, it's nice to hear, and I'm just thinking how much I relate, because we are both very social. We both want to be around people, it sounds like, and we share that excitement of going into the festival. Of course, it's a difficult time for that. Have you always... wait a minute. Is that what I wanted to do? Yeah, so talking about school and education, what was that like? And were you a very social person, or were you a bit of a reclusive geek? Or both?
Actually, both. I think my primary school was great, because it was a small school with I got a lot of friends, and yeah, right now it's still amazing memories. I can remember doing a lot of stuff, going for, and it was, and I second your question. It was on a small school, still in a countryside. Sorry, so a lot of thing connects to nature, going on a walk, walking on forest, stuff like that. So it was truly amazing. Then I went to le collège in French, which is not college in English. It's like not high school, between primary and high school. I don't know the word. It's funny. I was a teenager, and it wasn't like...
we just have two schools. I mean, in the UK at least, it's just primary school and secondary school.
Yeah, in France, it's like you go to the school for children, we can say, when you're between like 5 and 8. Prior to that, you have like preschool school, which is not the correct way of saying it, but school for small children, which is more activities. Then we have a first school when you go from around 11, 12 to your 15 to 16 birthdays. And then then you go to like high school, which is like something else, when you choose where to go, and it's like truly different. And my middle school, maybe I think Alex is right, my middle school wasn't that great. It was good in some points, but yeah, I did have some friends, but I wasn't like perfectly comfortable with everything. It was also the first time that I was like falling in love, meeting some new people, and yeah, it wasn't the best part of my life, I think. And then high school was amazing. Truly, I think I got lucky, but I've got like a big amount of like truly important friends, still like good friends. No, these days
And some
too.
of those important friends you're still in touch with, and they became lifelong,
Yeah,
friends,
truly.
lifelong relationships, if I want to try and use a different word.
And that's also, I think, the moment that I truly like appreciate the geeky side of my life, because I start to play Magic when I was like quite little, because I was like something. My first tournament I was 11 years old, so yeah, pretty little to start to play Magic, Magic the Gathering. But then it was always like a small part of my life. And then when I went to high school, I discovered role-playing games, board games, stuff like that, and it was truly like, yeah, a big part of my life, and it was very welcome to by each of my peers at the high school. It was like, oh, you want to play board games? Oh yeah, sure, let's try all together. Oh, you want to play role playing games? Oh, you should talk to this guy. He have like he already GM something. Oh, you want to play Magic the Gathering? Oh, she started a new club about it. Oh, and suddenly it was like, whoa, I can be myself for real, and I can try a lot of stuff. So yeah, high school was great for me.
That sounds amazing. And Ian and Robert are letting me know that, I was just talking from my experience, obviously, and this is the system that I'm familiar with. Although we called primary 7 transitors, and because you're transitioning from one school to the next, and secondary school, I don't think I was in year 6, because year 6 you can just skip if you want. But yeah, becoming the real person that you are, and being like, wow, was it like you had put a mask on beforehand and now the mask was finally coming off, or was it that you were now falling in love with games for the first time?
I think it was mostly the second part, like discovering things that I wasn't aware that was exciting and existing actually, and finding people to share this kind of stuff all together. And was also on a little bit different high school where project was truly central into what we were doing. And so I think it was also the first time when people give us autonomy and an opportunity to start our own thing. And I think it's truly something that wound me up at some point.
That is lovely. And so it sounds, so before you found all of these games in high school, were you already quite a playful, creative, game loving child, or was this like a whole new world for you?
Not that much. Beside Magic the Gathering, I wasn't playing that much board games, and I never played with my parents. It's funny. It's funny, not funny, but yeah. I quite remember having like a board games for my birthday, and it was something to play only for 3 to 5 players. It was like, oh, I can't play it because I have only one sister, and never at some point we were like, oh, maybe we can ask our parents to join and to play together. It wasn't something that we did back there,
Wow.
and so I wasn't so much into playing stuff when I was little. And I'm not sure I was a very creative kid in a way. I didn't draw that much. I didn't play music. I was reading a lot and I was playing video games a lot. From truly when I was like very small. But besides that, I wasn't truly into like creating stuff. It wasn't something that I had in me at this point, I think.
That's really interesting. I mean, it's interesting to hear about how some parents really push the idea of, yeah, you're going to play these games, and then that just becomes a natural part of your progression. But for you, it was very much like, oh, this is a game, this is a child's thing, and then you've At this point, sorry, I don't know if this is an appropriate question to ask, but are you thinking of having children yourself at any point in the?
Yeah,
Not.
it's okay to ask. And right now, no, I don't. We don't want to. Of course, willing to like change our minds at some point, but right now, and I say we because I'm with Elodie for like a big amount of time, and I can figure out my life without her right now. So it's a we thing in my mind.
Oh yes, of course.
Right
I mean, it would be part of the reason I asked is because you are with someone. It does take two people normally to have a child, of course. But I mean, if it's it would be, and if it's artificial insemination, then your job is a bit less important than the person who actually has a womb. You could argue.
But yeah, we definitely discuss about it at some point, and I love children. We both do, and we love to spend some time with our nephew and niece, and we have good friends of us with children, which is great. But yeah, I'm not sure that's for us right now.
That's fair. I mean, I'm just wondering whether you would spread the joy of gaming to your nephews and nieces. Is that something that you do?
Yeah, that's truly something important for me, and in a way, I'm quite successful at it. So it's always enjoyable to go back to Poitiers, where I grew up and where my sister is still living in France, and to bring a lot of new board games and being like, oh, you should play that, you should play this, you should play that, and boo, enjoying a very special time with them. So yeah, truly into it. And know that I also design board games for children. It's always great to be like, oh, you need to play this one, that's mine. So I'm it's a strange feeling, but I think I'm prouder to show them my children games than I am to show any other of my games to anyone. It's like, oh, I designed that, and I think I have all three of them in my mind while designing it. So it's like, oh, let me give you the box of my last game because there is a little bit of you into it. So,
oh, that's so lovely. And I'm sure that your sister, with your nibblings, plays those games even when you're not around, I'm assuming, and really appreciates you bringing all these fun activities and things to do. So, like, you left school. What jobs have you gone through? You haven't always been working in the board game industry.
I do actually.
Really?
I went to
Since leaving school, you always worked in the board game industry. You had no other jobs.
No, I went to college and to study movie and books like theory, and
Wow.
it was great. I enjoyed it and was like, oh, I might work on this kind of field, but got like discouraged because talking with people were like, oh, there is not so much things as job at the end of your studies. So, and at this point of my life, I was like, oh, what do I want to do? Oh, board games. Okay, let's try to reach for board games publisher and try to work with them. And then when I start working with IELLO, I was 22, I guess. It was my first real job ever, beside like doing small things to pay for my studies. But yeah, my first real full-time job was into the industry.
Okay, well, you don't need to, just so that some of us can think, okay, Theo's actually not the most fairy tale person. Talk to us quickly for just 1 minute about the jobs before you left university, like bar jobs or retail. Did you?
Yeah. One of the main things that I did, I was like the people who welcome you when you go to see a play at the theater.
Oh, yeah, usher. The person who kind of shows you the seat.
Yeah.
An usher.
Usher. Okay. So I did that for 3 years, which was like the best student jobs ever because most of the time it was not very hard task, and most of the time I get to like sneak into the theater and look at plays. So I think it was the 3 years of my life when I like saw an amount of plays which was like perfectly amazing for me. Then I work a little bit at a board game shop and at a video game shop. And I also was for 3 summers responsible for like a real estate agency to bring some new students to find their new flat. Not especially student, anyone actually. So I was like the guy who say, "Hey, welcome. So this is the living room. You can say it's beautiful, and now you have the kitchen," and doing stuff like that, which was like, I still don't truly know how do I end up there, but yeah, it was also a nice job. But that just to, because I still have like a small amount of fondness about it, but it was like a 2 times thing. But I also like being a naked model for a drawing class.
Okay,
So
a
being
life
like,
model, yeah.
okay, life model. And it was truly something that I perfectly remember a friend asking me, "Do you want to do that? Because I cannot do my session next week." I was like, "Okay, I'm perfectly afraid about doing it. It's like bringing me a lot of fear, but it's like so exciting in a way. So of course I want to do it, but of course I don't want to do it at the same time." So yeah, I kind of proud of being
exciting in that you want to push boundaries.
Yeah, and to do something that was not comfortable in a way, but if I like think about it, I was like, yeah, sure, I can do it, and I don't really know why I'm uncomfortable about it. So I want to try it to understand more about it and to feel like more comfortable. So yeah, it was a strange mixed feeling, but at the end I was like so happy doing it. So yeah.
Wow.
Astronaut, life model, game designer. That's that's a good sum up.
That is yeah, so wow. And yeah, that's okay. So you went into working for IELLO at the age of 22, some years ago. Explain to us a bit more about what you were doing and yeah, how you got this job.
Yeah, so basically during this moment, my first game was already being like not already published, but being like in the process. So I think that bring me like a touch to them when I ask them if they want to hire me. And keep in mind that at this time, IELLO was a very, very small, not small, but very smaller company. It was something like 10 or 12 people. So I was in charge of like customer service and all the events and a little bit of project managing. So it was truly of, oh, we need someone to do all these tasks that no one had the time to do.
5 of Essen rather than whole 1.
Yeah. So yes, but yes, that was like a lot of small tasks and very diverse things to do, which was like, if I think about it right now, was a good way for me to like discover the industry and discover the amount of different things that we can do. And then when I left 2 years after, I was fully a project manager at this time.
That sounds really good because it's big enough that it's an established company. They know what you're doing. You're going to get good work, and it's small enough that you get a little taste of everything. It's not like, I mean, frankly, I even look at Gigamic, and a lot of the people there know who I am, and I need to remember who. But it's like 50-something people working for the company, and it's like, you know, IELLO, it's like, oh, wow, it's a big swarm of people. And now there's the imprint of Loki, and I was actually chatting to someone, and I only discovered Loki in January last year. And so, oh, this is. Are you working with them? Have you continued to build that relationship, I guess?
Yeah, at the end, if I look at all the games that I signed off or published at the companies I am working with the most with. And I'm working with Loki 2, which is, as you said, like their children line. And that's funny because now if I'm looking at it, besides the two bosses of IELLO, which are like not that much into the editorial process, most of the people that I'm working with are people that I haven't worked with when I was with IELLO. Know that it was like 8 years ago. But it's funny because we still like have like this important connection and still working a lot together. So yeah,
There's
I
still
guess
the privilege that affords you.
Yeah, truly.
And then from IELLO, you went to Repos and you put on a sombrero. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, prior to that, I spent like 4 months working for a small companies called Yoka Baitsume, who are designing board games based on anime license in Luxembourg. So basically, IELLO was great for a lot of points, but not that great for a lot of other points. And so Yoka Baitsume just asked me, hey, do you want to join our team to be a full-time game designer and working on all our IPs? I was like, yeah, sure. Designing is something that I want to do more. I like manga and anime, so I think it could be a fit. So I worked for them for 4 months. And at this moment, Repos was looking for an editorial assistant. And so they just asked me, because we were knowing each other already, like, oh, we are looking for someone. Do you think it could be a fit? And in my mind, it was like, whoa, it's Repos. They publish Ghost Stories, which is one of my all-time favorites. Seven Wonders, which is like one of my all-time favorite. Concept, Time's Up, all these cool games. It's like, of course I want to work with you, but you're like the end of the level boss. So I am good enough to work with you. Are you sure about it? So we met, we discussed a little bit, and then I joined.
Nice. And that must have felt incredible. I mean, feeling like is that the moment where you felt like, okay, I've made it. I've finally gotten to where I want to be. Now what's next? I mean, yeah, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah, in a way, truly. But that's also not the first year, but the second year where I was with Repos. It was great for many puns, but it was also me discovering that, oh, maybe I want to be a full-time designer, because even if it's the company that I like the most, I've got good colleagues. My page was pretty okay, so it was like I've got everything that I want, but I'm still not as happy as I want to be, at least. And I think it was mostly because game designing was still like a side thing in my mind. It was me like spending 1 hour or 2 hours every night, like working on my own games, but it was not the same feeling. And so I think that's what make me realize at some point, or maybe I need to like be on my own and be a full-time designer. And that when I left.
And so then
basically.
you quit, and then you started working on everything else. Let me actually go back a little bit, because you said something about IELLO. They had some very good points and some not so good points. Do you want to talk about those, or would you rather skip
No,
those?
it's okay. I think the main thing was management in a way, mostly because on the 2 years when I was there, IELLO grew like a lot, and working for a company with 10 colleagues is truly not the same thing that working with like 25 people. And I was feeling more and more into like a big thing, and not like perfectly on my small cocoon with people that I know and which are friends with me. And obviously at this point it was making sense, because I was very young when I've got like get hired by IELLO, and with no experiences, but the paid wasn't very good. And at some point, it was a matter for me to be like, okay, do I want to evolve a little bit more on this company, or do I want to try something else? And trying something else was like the good answer in my mind at this point.
So it was like you were emerging into Butterfly as a designer. You went to Repos, and then after Repos, you finally went into your current position, which is a freelance, independent designer. Yes, you work with a lot of publishers. You've not self-published anything, as far as I'm aware, or have you done that as part of a? Okay.
Oh, not yet.
I mean, I don't know, maybe one day you might fancy doing some crazy art projects or something, but yeah, what motivates you to be a designer? What drives you, do you think?
That's a pretty good question. I'm not sure I have the perfect answer, because it's like, in my mind, no, it's me. And it's like, I can't do anything else. And right now, if I'm not designing games, if I'm not like sharing with some co-designers, talking about games, playing games, I'm just not happy. So I know for sure that deep down, even if I don't intellectuate why, I need to do this kind of stuff. And so no, it's like this important part of my life that I cannot get rid of. I don't know if it's gonna be forever. Maybe eventually at some time I would be, yeah, sure. Board game designing was fine, but maybe no, I've got like these new things that I want to do. But right now, I cannot think about doing anything else.
That's really exciting to hear. So do you feel like now you are finally where you want to be? And what does the future hold for you? And actually, there's another thing that I wanted to talk about. Of course, Bauza's Kedama group, which is a really interesting idea. I understand that it was Antoine Bauza who set this up as a group to get, but can you explain what it is and how you came to be part of it?
Actually, it was like with Antoine, Ludo, and Corentin, we are good friends for like a little bit of years now. We met like with the industry at SN and Canfair and stuff like that, and we growing friends at this time. And we were discussing a lot back at these days, like on a small messenger like discussion, all four of us. I don't really remember why it was just four of us and just this small group, but yeah, it was our normal talk. And they knew at this time that I was thinking about leaving Repos, because they knew that it wasn't perfect for me. And at this time I was like, okay, I was thinking about it, and maybe I'm gonna just be like full-time designers, but I will also propose to publishers to help them with development and games on demand and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna start to do something like that next year. I think it was like next year this time. And it's actually Antoine who said, "Oh, nice. Maybe we could start something, all four of us together." And then we spent some time thinking about the project, about how could we like construct this, including the fact that Antoine and Ludo are like very successful game designers, so they are like very, very, very busy. Corentin and I were like baby game designers in a way, and we're like, okay, maybe we want to start this company, but we still want to design our own games at the side. So after a lot of discussion, we come up with Kaidama, which is exactly that. That's all four of us helping publishers that need our helps in development, and doing games on demand, which is mostly doing games based on a license, an IP, or starting with components or stuff like that. And for all of us, it's a part of our day job, but we are still like designing board games, like as a freelance designer at the same time.
And there's a physical location. I am slightly confused because you're living in Belgium, but I thought that this was based in parts of France.
Yeah, Antoine and Corentin are living in Valence, in France, which is near Lyon, for people who know a little bit more about France. And I'm living in Brussels, which is like, don't know how many kilometers, but a lot away. So, of course, not in 2020 and 2021, but I'm hoping that at some point I'm gonna get back. But I'm going to Valence once a month for something like between 3 and 5 days. And the thing that helped me a lot is the fact that we have like an high-speed train going from Brussels to Valence, like without any connection, and needs to change the train. So it's something like between 4 and 5 hours ride. So it's not that hard to go to Valence. Le 6.
Are you familiar with this?
No, but no, I like it. I have to let me open a tab with it to take a look at the end of our conversation.
Just to clarify, that's the 1920s, not the 2020s.
No, we have to say that. That's true.
But I mean, it could have also been the 1820s or whatever. But I think I wanted to ask a little about the financial stability, because coming out of Repos, where it's difficult, because in a way I was quite blessed that I had personally this not very good job. I was working in a supermarket, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on this Kickstarter for In a Bind, and it's like, okay, if I got fired for unfair reasons, but I didn't have the energy to chase it, and I was like, yeah, you know what, it doesn't even matter, because I didn't have any people that I was being responsible for. But at that time, had you managed to save up a wee bit of money for yourself? Did you have a bit of a cushion? How did you know that you were going to be okay? What gave you the step to make that little plunge, if you know what I mean?
At this point, it was still dangerous in a way, but just like you said, I was willing to be like, okay, I can stop going on restaurant, I can stop to buy some comics, and I can be like on a smaller life, if I can say, for this amount of time. And it's a small sacrifice to do to like being a full-time designer and trying to start this new thing. So I was truly willing to do that. And at this point, I think I've got something like 5 games being released. So even if none of them was like a huge success, it was still like a small amount of money coming each year. And I already got something like 5 other games going into the process. So I was like,
so that's
okay,
really
for
cool.
sure.
So even though you were working for Repos, you were still totally able to design games on the side and pitch them to other companies.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that in the tech industry, and I don't know if one day this will happen to the board game industry, but there's a lot of, whatever you work on, even if it's in your own time, it belongs to us, which is quite a horrible way of owning the person.
Yeah, and it was something that we discussed, and when I got IELLO about Repos, they knew for sure that I was a board game designer at the moment I decide. And they knew that it was something important for me. So our deal was, and I was perfectly okay with it, every time I design a new games, I show it to Repos first, and they got like this first pick to say, we want to publish it or not. And if it was a or not, I was like free to show it to anyone. Of course, not during my hours working with Repos. So most of the time I was like spending one afternoon during big game shows that I will booked and say, okay, I'm not working, and I spend one holiday to have like this afternoon pitching my games, and they were pretty okay with it. They were very understandable about the situation, so it was great. Hey, Nicolas.
Hello, Nicolas Stratia. And that is really cool of them. They seem like excellent people. And even though they're better known now for concept, and I do still like Good Question, even though it is inherently flawed. I also think that Doodle should get a reprint, and that clearly didn't sell well enough. So what do I know? But there's sometimes you see a game and it's like, you know what? I wish I could just make some small tweaks. But anyway, no, they seem like excellent people from the little that I speak to them, and that's definitely painting them in a positive light. So I think, we've been talking for almost 2 hours at this point. It's time to wrap up, to kind of maybe say a couple final things about where you are now, because firstly, what are you proudest of right now, and what makes you the happiest? I think those are the 2 questions I would like to ask.
I think I'm gonna cheat a little bit by saying I think the things that make me the proudest are my games with an S, because I don't like to choose which game is like my favorite on all of them. And thank you for not asking, because people are always like, oh, if you look at all your games, which one is your favorite? And I'm like, I can't answer that, because I'm gonna have problem if I'm gonna have trouble if I say, oh, this game that I co-designed with this person is my favorite because it was my best experience. It's gonna be hard to assume at some point. So I think I would say my games is truly something that bring me a sense of proudness in a way.
I mean, I'm not going to ask you to say, but I'm not going to ask you to name names. But surely there must be some that you think, okay, I'm happier with that than the other.
I think right now the easier way to answer it are, and because they are fresh and still in my mind, are the 3 last ones that I published, which are the Loop that I co-designed with the other way, with Maxime Rambourg, and being published by Catch Up Games. And the 2 other ones are Detective Charlie and Pick a Mouse. C'est La Maison des Souris that I co-designed with Elodie, which is my girlfriend, which was like amazing to work together. And these 2 ones have been nominated for French Game of the Year in the children category. We unfortunately lost to Dragomino, which is like, okay, we lost to Bruno, Wilfred, and Marifor. It's okay, they're the best, so we're okay with that. And so because these 3 ones are like very fresh in my mind, and they are still like going strong and still working on it, thinking about it a lot, they might be my 3 favorites at the moment. But yeah, I'm still thinking.
Honestly, I wasn't expecting you to name names. But saying, okay, my last ones, and for sure having that nomination for the Astor, what's it called, Le Jeu d'Enfant, that must be so fulfilling to believe. I think, how many do they pick? Is it 3 or is it 4?
4.
4. Yeah, it's like really awesome. Congratulations. And I remember, I mean, obviously this year, if I had been able to go to Cannes, then I would have probably been playing it. I remember last year, and Cannes is such a nice place, because if you're going there as a designer, it's so easy to walk around. There's no big crowds. It's not like Hessen where you need to struggle to get from one side to the other. And it's really easy to play all the games. And I remember, like, okay, I understood a little bit more this year of, well, in 2020, I understood a little bit more of the presentation. They did also make it a lot shorter, which was nice. And then so I went onto the show floor, and I was like, okay, I want to play all these games. And I got the chance to play literally everything that was nominated, which was great. And yeah, it's so easy to just spend one of your days walking around and enjoying things. And just, anyway, I love a lot of conventions. I'm not going to say I love Cannes. I mean, I also love Aircon. I love Bastion. The UK Games Expo is pretty good. But honestly, I really love Cannes. Is really nice. And yeah.
But that's
Anyways,
great. We want more and more people from like not friends coming to Cannes because they truly want to make it like an international fair. And right now that's mostly a French fair. Just like you said with UK Game Expo, it's like some of the French people that I know are going to the UK Game Expo, but mostly we are not. And I hope that more and more Cannes will be more international to meet some other people and to have like freshness to the fair. So I'm glad you came last year, and I'm glad that more and more people are coming too.
It's the second year that I've been, and I wouldn't have gone if it wasn't for Gigamic. I mean, it wasn't prohibitively expensive, but the first year for sure, having Gigamic, and I think I'm allowed to say, you know, they put me up for maybe 2 nights, and I can't remember what I was actually doing. I think I ran one small event for them, and then the second year it was like, okay, I said, okay, but would you actually put me up every night? I want you to put me up every night of the fair this time. And, you know, in return, maybe I can do some sort of event every single day. We can do something fun. And they were like, okay. And so having them, you know, it's both, yeah, financially helping, that made it nice, and also helping in terms of I don't have to deal with all this stuff. I don't have to worry about anything. That was also nice. And again, I am aware how privileged I am. But we were talking before the show, saying like, yes, Essen is out of the 3 European things that I have been to. I know there's many others, like in Italy, you know what it's called?
Luca?
Thank you very much. That big one in Italy. And there's other things, you know, going on in the rest of Europe. But out of the ones I've been to, I would agree with you. Cannes is very French, but there are a few, you know, people from outside, especially the manufacturers. And I was like astonished by how many cards I got saying, oh yeah, I'm just looking at it. Yes, I self-publish, but no, I'm okay. I've got someone I'm happy and did, you know, please take our cards. But so much good stuff happening, and it's such a different atmosphere, and there's so many differences because it's literally free entry, and anyone who's in the city can, if you don't need to go in the morning, then you just get in for free. Like if you want exhibitor tickets, which allows you to go in, you know, before anyone else, or go up to the networking room where you can have meetings and stuff, you know, that costs a wee bit of money. And I think, I can't remember who it was. I don't know if I would want to mention them by name anyway, but because, you know, you want to check before you attribute a quote, but someone told me that Cannes is the best for what they call business to business, like that sort of pitching and getting that stuff done. And yes, I went to Nuremberg, and then I met a few folk, and then Nuremberg was brilliant as a designer. That was so productive. Obviously, as a game player, as a game lover, you know, what's there to see? That's a completely different sort of fair. But for sure, that toy fair, that was so good at making those relationships with Mathieu, you know, Mathieu's company, Mathieu.
Cocktail games?
Thank you very much. I can't
Mathieu
believe I
Depny.
forgot that.
It's okay.
Cocktail games with learning about Loki and showing something to Hadi from that Spanish Helvetic, and then going to, yeah, at Cannes, and then having some more meetings, and then having a game taken away, and then I was, yeah, I'm finally becoming a real game designer, and then the games couldn't be tested. And so, yeah, for me as well as UJ Fool's Guards, there was some disappointments. And for sure, head over there. I wouldn't say that, oh, this is such an amazing... I would also caution you saying that you do need to speak a bit of French. That is the expectation. If you do not speak French, I would say that you will get less out of Cannes than an English speaker would get in Essen, for example. But for sure, games are becoming more and more international, but there's also really strong domestic presence in any of these things. So, yeah,
And at the end, if you are shaken like pretty well French people, they are willing to speak English. It's just like I was discussing with Matthew about that, but it's always and less for me, and I'm happy like doing this kind of things, and talking with you is a good way for me like to feel more comfortable. But we are like raised in an educational system that told us if you don't speak like a perfect English or if you have an accent, you're not worth it. So
Wow.
more and more it's like, okay, my English is not perfect and my accent is very French, but no, I'm okay with it because yeah, we're talking, and that's the main thing. But
yeah, we're having a great
nevertheless,
conversation. We're making jokes. There's a bit of back and forth. There's a bit of a rapport, and yeah, I think it's so sad that you say this. Like earlier on when we were talking about what's good about games and being like a safe space for failure, like that's the thing, a lesson that we need to learn for life. That you need to be okay with being imperfect. Like no one is perfect, and I'm so sad to hear that. I always thought that French not wanting to speak English, it came from a place of, oh, if you don't speak French, you're not good enough, or sometimes it's just they don't know English at all, but sometimes it's yeah, and
most of the time I think it's feeling like being judged by other French. Hey,
bye-bye.
Is being judged like by other French people speaking English. It's like every time that I speak English with an English speaker, it's like going well, and it's great, and I feel comfortable. But if right now it was you, me, and another French designer, it would be less comfortable for me to speak English in front of them. And so yeah, that's
Because
something
you would
that
be embarrassed by your English.
yeah, truly.
Wow.
And that's something that we need to deconstruct in French. But I think most of the time it's you're like with like French designers and you are talking and they are talking in French. I think most of the time it's because they are not comfortable speaking in French, in English, in front of each other, and not because they don't want to talk with you. So
that's amazing.
So if you check a little bit the French market, most of the time they know how to at least speak a little bit of English. So it's also our part to like know and feel more comfortable and being okay with like speaking English with English speakers.
I thank you for sharing that. That's definitely not a great way for things to be. And let's, with that bombshell, even though I could probably deconstruct that thing and like poke it because for many hours, because I have things to do myself and I want to be respectful of your time, of course. Let's wrap it up here and let's talk about, what have we been talking about today? We've talked about Z-Man Games and apparently not wanting to release, sounds like sour grapes, not releasing the older games. He talks about enjoying those older games. He talks about buying games, maybe they're cheap, maybe it's just something that someone said, hey, this is a really good game from 2005. Talking about being disappointed because people talk about a 6-month-old game as if it's old. Talking about Pandemic Legacy, Season 0, talking about The Crew, and Scarabia, which he said was a wee bit like My City. Talked a wee bit about Bruno Krafala board games, being coping strategies, or applying that knowledge to interviews, having that state of flow where nothing else matters. It's kind of states of peace and meditation and almost escapism. A safe space to fail. That's a really nice thing. Talking about conceding, whether it's chess or whether it's modern board games, allowing other people to see their engine build up and be like, whoa, we've got this amazing engine. We talked about pole dancing. It's great exercise. Give it a go. About, just discovering games, being an usher, an astronaut, a life model, working for IELLO, starting off at the age of 22 in this team of 10 people doing everything, but then navigating until you're a projects manager, leaving to work with what, Yokatubu?
It's Yoka by tsume. So you can say yokai. Yokai is okay.
Yokai by tsume.
Yeah.
Okay. So being a designer, doing anime and manga stuff for Yokai by tsume, and then going into Repos with what sounds like a really nice agreement to be able to continue designing, and then moving more and more until you left. You had a few games coming out. You felt, okay, there's a little bit of safety, and with these 3 other people, we will get some contractual work. So you were being designers for hire, developers for hire. And that sounds a really nice state of being. Alex mentions, as an English speaker, I feel lucky and also a bit guilty that many people are able to speak with me. Yeah, I totally get that. And I mean, in all seriousness, Théo, I just want to say that it has been such a delight. I feel like your English is, good enough to speak on a radio station. And it's kind of one of my aspirations is to learn French maybe well enough so that I could, just be on a radio show for 5 minutes and not embarrass myself. Do you know what I mean? I'm good enough that I'm able to teach my game, but I teach it because I know beforehand, okay, this is how you say piochon cards, and I can't even remember how you say you've won. Tu es gagné? Is that correct? Tu es gagné, you've won?
Tu as gagné, yes.
Tu es gagné. Oui. But yeah, to actually have a conversation where, there's this level of back and forth, that's just amazing. And so we are definitely privileged being raised in an English-speaking country where we don't need to learn things. And so we can definitely get a bit lazy. But that is everything we've talked about. If you want to follow me, then please check stuffbybez.com, stuffbybez.bigcartel.com, twitter.com/stuffbybez, instagram.com/stuffbybez, twitch.tv/stuffbybez, youtube.com/stuffbybez for all the old episodes, or stuffbybez.com/discord, which if you follow that link, stuffbybez.com/discord, that's what I would encourage everyone to follow that. Go to Discord and it will redirect to you where it's a lovely group. You can share pictures of cats, chats about board game designs, and we sometimes have game jams and stuff like that. And as for you, Théo, where do you most like to be found?
Instagram and Twitter are great to reach to me if you want to talk and to see what I'm working with. And I'm also doing a game show every Thursday and Tuesday morning on Twitch, 9 to 11, but mostly in French. So if you're not comfortable with French, but if you ever want to come and to say hi, everyone, you're more than welcome. I'm talking about game designing and
so that's 9 to 11 a.m. p.m.
Yeah.
In the morning.
A.m. on the morning. Yeah.
Okay, so that's French time, which would make it 8 to 10 a.m. UK time.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's very
I'm
early.
also trying this new time, but it's still the beginning. But I'm also streaming on Sunday night at 9 p.m. this time. And my main goal, but I'm not sure how it's gonna go. But it was the first time this Sunday. But I'm trying to go on Wikipedia in French and add more designers because we don't have that much board game designers in the French Wikipedia. Oh, that's my cat. And especially trying to feminize a little bit Wikipedia, which is mostly all the big French game designers are on Wikipedia, but not any of the great and big female designers. So I'm trying to add some new article. But that's a new project, but that's what I'm doing on Sunday. If you want to come to a chill atmosphere when we are writing Wikipedia article and talking a little bit less.
Nice.
If you are looking to this thing, if you see, we have like this hashtag which have been started by Antoine Boza, which is un jour au proto, which is one day one prototype in French.
Ooh.
And the main thing is to share a picture of prototype.
Wait a minute, you've got to have a new prototype every day.
No, that's not new news. This one is like the first and the second prototype of Nagaraja, which have been released by Eureka, and so that's more into. You can share like your prototype of Yogi or your first prototype of any game that you are working, being published or not at the end. The main thing is to like bring some prototypes on social media.
Okay, Anjo and Proto, and there we go, another one. Ninja du Clan du Siab? Crab,
which is crab in English. Easy.
It
was actually my first game being like published, which was Shinobi WAT-AAH. So that was like the third prototype that I ever created with and that's the final that works by Naiad.
And yeah, that is really cool. So check all that stuff out. And if you're interested in the streams, do you have a schedule or something on your Twitter that you put up?
No, I'm not. I'm not that professional yet. But yeah, Tuesday, Thursday morning, I would be there for sure.
Okay, so Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. European time to 11, which makes it 8 to 10. So if you're watching this, then actually, you know what? If you were like 5 minutes more, you could carry on and then read me.
Yeah, I can wait. I just discovered that I wasn't following you on Twitch, which is a shame. But no, I will do at the end of this stream. And truly, my viewers are like very nice people, and they're always willing to meet and to discover new channels. So
as long as they understand that it will be in English, and
it's okay.
Some of the days, maybe I'm trying to think which days. Occasionally, if it is a light-hearted chat like this, then I will maybe try and speak a little bit of French just for a laugh, even though it's terrible. But like next week, actually, Nicholas says, love Nagaraya. Getting that is also when I met Théo and Bruno. I assume that Bruno Kafella, and it was great, and we really enjoyed the game. That's awesome. And so, yeah, I want to say thank you, everyone. Whether it's you've been watching the stream, you've been excellent, and Théo, you have been truly wonderful. Thank you for joining me. I would love to have you on at some point again if you're willing. And now, before we say bye-bye, it is over to you. What are you up to? You can share anything you want to. So what are we doing today? I am going to be doing a bit of chatting with Chris, and I don't know what I'm doing right now, but I have a to-do list, and I'm going to be checking that and trying to tick off as many things as I can from it. That's all I'm going to say. And then, yeah, Wednesday, I've actually got a special thing, which is a seminar, which sounds like it might not be that. It was kind of a businessy marketing seminar, which I thought, okay, I don't know if it's going to be useful or not, but I'll give it a go. Why not? If it's free, so if it's not that useful after 15 minutes, I will say goodbye. But yeah, what are you up to, Théo?
My main goal for today is tonight I'm recording a podcast about comics, which is called Comics Outcast, and I haven't like worked on it yet that much, so I have to, and it's a very nice task, but to read comics and to analyze them a little bit in order to be ready to the recording for tonight.
And that is also in French, I assume?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
No, you don't have to, it's like that, what's that company called? Sorry, we are French.
Yeah, that's something, yes, that's a motto for most of us.
It's, for goodness sake, you don't have to be so apologetic all the time. If anyone else has anything that they want to give a quick shout out to, feel free. For my next streams, please check my public calendar there, where you will see that tomorrow I am with Dina Ramsey, who was in the comments earlier, and Peter Blenkarn, CEO of Inside the Box Game Studio, and we're chatting about working relationships. And it's going to be a wee bit of a roundtable, even though there's only 3 of us chatting about, I don't know if we'll come to any conclusions, but kind of how do you make sure that you are being productive together? How do you make sure that there is harmony and not any real tension between each other? Friday, I have Friendly Friday Forum, but it's with me and 2 special guests, Maria and Enrique of Brota de Juegos, who are some siblings, game designers who have become finalists in the Cardboard Edison Award for this year, which is quite interesting going to chat to them. Meeting Luke Hector. You'll be able to read these descriptions, and then Sunday I noticed I still have it as Bez Reviews. I'll be chatting about a game that I actually invented for my own deck, just how I made it, and also what I think of it now. I mean, it's been 3-4 years since I made it, so hopefully I can be a little bit objective. Meeting Brian Slattery on Monday, who's got a crazy big board game collection. It's possibly the biggest board game collection in a workplace. So not the biggest board game collection, but in a workplace, to have a board game library in an office, if you know what I mean. So there's like 700 games, and everyone in this office goes and plays all these games. It's, wow, bringing board games to your office. That's pretty cool. Tuesday, I'm going to be meeting with some designers, Matthew, Rita, and Alan, and discussing iteration, which is the next step. And anyway, check that all out. Sorry for... I feel like I should probably do a bit less than a week, but share, spread the word if any of that sounds interesting. And if you are watching this live, I am now going to find someone to raid. Sorry for being too apologetic.
Perfect. That's my motto too.
Sorry for apologizing. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for it. Anyway, but lots of love. You are... What's a great way to get more space for your collection, suggests Alex. If you don't have enough space in your house, move it all into your office. And yep, lots of love. And that brings me to the end. Is there anything that you want to mention at all? Anything you want to shout out about? Any game that you want people to pay attention to or anything?
For me, Tomb Raider. Perfect, sorry. Was laughing at your Tomb Raider, which is perfect. That's a good question. I think truly the last games that I enjoyed are My City and Pandemic Legacy, so you should definitely check this one if you don't know.
Yeah. And so feel free to copy, paste part or all of that we chat. I am going to raid the UK Games Expo Twitch channel. They are having a chat with Sirenscape, who made some orchestral music for RPGs. They're cool people, and Behind the Shelf I'm not super familiar with. But thank you, Bodhi. Raid UK Games Expo. Oh, thank you for following, Théo. I appreciate that. And that's the end. So, yes, lots of love. So, bye.
Thank you.
This is a goodbye song. Bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye. This is the end of the show. And bye. And now it's time to go to the bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye. This is the end of the show. And bye. And now it's time to all together now. Go. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.